For 7 years, my wife and I ran our life like a clean spreadsheet. Not the fake "we're a team" kind you post on Instagram. The real kind. Mortgage split down the middle. Bills split down the middle. Chores split down the middle. Even the dumb invisible stuff. Doctor appointments, school forms, birthday gifts for relatives we didn't even like, split down the middle. We weren't perfect, but we were fair. I used to be proud of that. I'd look at couples around us, one person drowning while the other floated, and I'd think, not us. We're civilized. We're modern. We're partners. Turns out partners is a seasonal subscription. Mine got quietly canceled on a Wednesday. It wasn't a fight. No screaming, no flying plates, no dramatic "I can't do this anymore" with a suitcase already packed. It was worse. It was calm. It was managerial. She announced a power shift like she was updating our household terms of service. That evening started normal. Kids were finally down. I was loading the dishwasher. She was leaning against the counter with a mug in her hand, scrolling on her phone like it was dispensing oxygen. "Hey," I said, because I still lived under the illusion we were married, not negotiating a hostile takeover. "Tomorrow I can take the morning drop-off if you want to sleep in." She didn't look up. You okay?" I asked. She took one sip, put the mug down slowly, finally looked at me. Not angry, not sad, decided. "I've been thinking," she said. "In any marriage, those 3 words are the emergency broadcast system." I closed the dishwasher and leaned back on the counter. "Okay, about what? Vacation? New couch?" She didn't smile. That should have been my first clue that I was about to get audited. "I'm tired," she said. "Me too," I said instantly. "I'm so tired I forgot what my hobbies were. I think I used to be a person." "This isn't about jokes," she replied, like she was addressing a toddler with a sharp object. "Okay," I said, lowering my voice. "Talk to me." She inhaled, and for a second I thought I was going to hear something human. Something like, "I'm overwhelmed. I'm burned out. I need help." Something we could actually work with. Instead, she said, "I'm tired of living on equal terms." I blinked. "Sorry, did you say equal terms?" "Yes." "Like equality?" "Yes." I waited for the punchline. It didn't arrive. She continued, still calm. "I need more space. I need my own schedule. I don't want to negotiate every little thing anymore." I stared at her for a second, then nodded slowly, like I was trying to decode a foreign language using only facial expressions. "Okay," I said carefully. "Space I get, schedule I get. But what does that mean practically?" She leaned forward a little, like she'd been waiting for me to ask the exact right question so she could finally read from her prepared notes. "It means the kids are going to be your responsibility. Fully. Morning routine, school drop-offs, pickups, bedtime, all of it." My mouth opened, then closed. I tried again. "All of it," I repeated. "Yes." "And the house?" I asked, already feeling my spine do that thing where it tries to exit my body. She nodded. "Your responsibility too." I let out a short laugh, because my brain was still trying to protect me from reality with comedy. "So you want to be a visiting investor?" She didn't react. "I'm serious," she said. "I need to not feel like I'm drowning in domestic life. I want time for myself. I have classes I want to take. I want to see my friends without checking a calendar like it's air traffic control." I held up a hand. "Wait, I'm not stopping you from seeing your friends." "No," she said softly, "but the expectation is always there, that I have to make it fair. I don't want to do that anymore." And there it was. The real confession. She didn't want help. She wanted relief from the concept of fairness. I looked at her. Really looked. "You're saying you want to stop keeping it balanced," I said. "Yes." I took a breath. "Okay. And financially?" Her eyes didn't even flicker, like she'd already calculated the math. "I think it makes sense if you cover more. 70, maybe 80% for now. You make more than I do. My jaw tightened. Now, before anyone starts writing think pieces, yes, I made more. Not triple. Not buy a yacht more. But enough that I'd always seemed willing to carry a little extra when needed. We were a family. We made decisions together. But this wasn't carry a little extra. This was, you will fund the kingdom. I will live in it. I exhaled through my nose. So let me summarize. Kids, me. House, me. Money, mostly me. Your schedule? Untouchable. Is that the new constitution? She nodded once like a CEO approving a policy change. Then she delivered the line with the gentleness of someone offering a tissue after hitting you with a car. These are the new rules. Accept them or leave. She said it calmly. Not smug, not cruel, almost compassionate. Like she expected me to cry and then quietly comply. I stared at her for a full 3 seconds. The weird thing is, my first emotion wasn't anger. It was clarity. Because when someone says accept it or leave, they're not negotiating. They're announcing that your consent is optional. I stepped away from the counter, walked to the table, and pulled out a chair. Sit, I said. She frowned. Why? Because if we're rewriting the structure of our lives, I'd like both authors present. She hesitated, then sat across from me. Her expression was guarded now, like she suddenly remembered I had a spine. I clasped my hands together. Okay, I'm going to speak very clearly, so there's no confusion. Fine, she said. This is not a new reality, I said. This is an experiment. Her lips parted slightly. An experiment. Yes, I said. 30 days. She tilted her head. Why 30? Because if you're going to redesign our marriage into a solo performance for you and a support staff for me, I'd like a fixed trial period before I decide if I'm renewing. She rolled her eyes. You're being dramatic. No, I said evenly. I'm being structured. Different hobby. I leaned forward. For 30 days, we do it your way. I will not scream. I will not sulk. I will not sabotage. I will do the responsibilities we agree on, but I'm not accepting this as permanent. She crossed her arms. And after 30 days? After 30 days, I said, we sit down like adults, and we return to balance. And if I'm not ready? She asked. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't threaten. I didn't perform. I just said the truth. Then I leave. Her eyebrows lifted. You're going to leave your family because I need space? I nodded once. I'll accept temporary burnout. I won't accept disrespect. That landed. You could actually see it, like a small crack in the glass of her certainty. She leaned back, studying me like I'd started speaking in a new accent. You won't leave? She said almost gently. You're not that guy. I smiled, but it didn't reach my eyes. That's exactly what makes this a useful experiment. She shook her head and stood up, taking her mug like this conversation was a minor inconvenience. Do what you want, she said. I'm going to bed. She walked out of the kitchen. No slam, no theatrics, just quiet footsteps up the stairs. And I sat there at the table, listening to the house settle. The dishwasher hummed, the clock ticked, and in my head, a sentence repeated itself like a warning label. Accept them, or leave. I pulled my phone out, opened a notes app, and typed, Day 1, trial period begins. Then I added a second line, because I wanted to remember the moment I stopped being a volunteer. I'm not agreeing, I'm documenting. Upstairs, the light in our bedroom turned off. I looked down at my hands, then at the quiet kitchen, then at the hallway where the kids' rooms were. 30 days, not a punishment, not revenge, an audit. And tomorrow morning I was going to start exactly how I meant to continue, calm, consistent, and no longer overcompensating. Because if she wanted new rules, fine. Tomorrow was going to be very educational, for both of us. I got up the next morning at 6:03, not because I'm a motivated man of discipline and sunrise journaling, but because children operate like tiny hostile alarm clocks with legs. My son was already awake, standing in the doorway. "Dad," he whispered. "Buddy," I whispered back, because apparently we were in a covert operation now. "Why are you awake?" "I need water." "You have a cup in your room." "It's empty." "You know," I said, "when I was your age, I drank from a hose like a feral raccoon." He stared at me like I'd just confessed to a crime. "Water," he repeated. "Right. We're civilized now. My mistake." I got him water. Then my daughter came out, rubbing her eyes and already complaining about something I hadn't done yet. She's my people. "I can't find my other sock," she announced. "You have 2 feet," I said. "Wear one sock. Start a trend." "Dad." Okay. While I made them breakfast, I kept my ear tuned for footsteps upstairs. Because in the old model, my wife would come down, hair in a messy bun, and we'd do the morning dance together. One person packing lunches, the other person checking backpacks, both of us pretending this is fine. Now, I watched the stairs like I was waiting for a judge to enter the courtroom. She came down at 6:41, fully dressed. Makeup done, hair presentable. She walked into the kitchen, glanced at the kids, and poured herself coffee. No good morning, no need help, no how are they, just coffee, her holy sacrament of not being involved. My son waved a spoon at her. "Mom!" "Morning," she said, distracted, scrolling her phone again as if her screen was showing her the future. My daughter looked at her like she was calculating whether this woman was still a parent or just a guest in our home. I kept my face neutral. "Are you taking them today?" my wife asked me without looking up. "Yes," I said. "That's the plan, fully. Remember?" She sighed, like I was the one being difficult. "Right. I'm heading out early. I have that class." "Of course you do," I said. My wife turned back to the kids, smile snapping into place like a customer service representative. "Bye, babies," she said, kissing the top of my son's head, then my daughter's. She didn't look at me when she walked out. The door closed, and the kitchen got quieter in a way that felt new. I exhaled slowly, then clapped my hands once. "All right, shoes, backpacks, we're leaving in 10. My daughter squinted at me. "You're weird today." "Thank you," I said. "I'm trying a new personality." The first week was exactly what I said it would be. Basic responsibility. No hero performance. I did the drop-offs, I did the pickups, I cooked dinner, but I didn't audition for Husband of the Year. I cleaned, but I didn't scrub baseboards like I was trying to earn affection. I stopped doing the extra invisible stuff that used to make life smoother. No, "Hey, your mom's birthday is coming up, what gift should we get?" No, "I noticed the laundry detergent is low," not out of spite, out of math. If she wanted a new arrangement, she was going to get it exactly as written. Not upgraded, not enhanced, not emotionally cushioned. The first time she tested it was day 3. She came home at 7:30, hair slightly damp like she'd been at some inspirational cardio workshop where people clap for each other. The kids were in pajamas. The kitchen was fine, not a disaster, not a showroom. Dinner dishes were stacked neatly. The floor was swept, but not polished like a crime scene. She walked in, dropped her bag, and looked around with the cautious confidence of someone checking whether the staff did their job. "What did you guys eat?" she asked. "Food," I said. She blinked. "Okay. What food?" I nodded toward the stove. "Pasta." "What kind of pasta?" "The kind that gets eaten and turns into energy. Very advanced." She frowned. "Why are you being like this?" "Like what?" She gestured vaguely, like she was trying to swat sarcasm out of the air. "Short, cold." I shrugged. "I'm tired." "Me too," she snapped. I looked at her. "You're tired? From what? Your class and resting?" Her eyes flashed. "Excuse me?" I held up a hand. "Let me rephrase. I'm sure you're tired from your life. I'm tired from your life too." She took a step forward. "Don't start." "I'm not starting," I said. I'm continuing. There's a difference. She stared at me like she couldn't decide whether I was joking or insulting her. Then she turned toward the kitchen again, eyes landing on the dishes. Are you going to clean that? She asked, pointing at the stack. I glanced at it. Eventually. When? When I feel like it. Her mouth opened slightly. You used to do it right after dinner. You used to share responsibility, I said. The words weren't loud, but they hit. Like a dart instead of a hammer. She went still for a moment. Then she forced a laugh that sounded rehearsed. Wow, she said. So this is what you're doing. Punishing me. I'm not punishing you, I said. I'm living the rules you wrote. She shook her head and walked past me, brushing my shoulder like she was physically pushing through a barrier of inconvenience. Day 5, she asked the question I knew was coming. I was chopping vegetables for dinner. Again, not gourmet, just functional adult food. She walked in and leaned against the doorway, watching me. Where's dinner? She asked, tone casual, like she was asking what time the mail arrived. I didn't look up. In the kitchen. She frowned. That's not an answer. It's literally an answer, I said. It's in the kitchen. You're standing in the kitchen. Congratulations, you found it. Her eyebrows shot up. Are you serious right now? I finally turned toward her. I'm not running a restaurant, I said. Dinner happens. It's not a performance. She scoffed. You used to care more. I nodded slowly. You used to share more. She went quiet again. And that's when I realized something important. She wasn't shocked that I wasn't doing everything. She was shocked that I wasn't doing everything with a smile. Because the truth is, in our old 50-50 life, I didn't just do my share. I did my share and then covered the emotional comfort layer. The reassurance, the compliments, the "it's okay, babe," the smoothing. I'd been balancing the balance. Now I wasn't. And it was making her itch. By day 7, the house was still functioning. The kids were fine. The world hadn't collapsed. But my wife's confidence had started to flicker. She kept asking small questions, tiny probes. What time did you pick them up? Did you sign the school form? What did you tell your mom about Sunday? Not because she cared, because she wanted to see if I was still doing the invisible things that made her life effortless. And I kept answering the same way. Short, clean, non-emotional. The form is on the counter. I picked them up at pickup time. I told my mom the truth. That Sunday depends on our schedules. She didn't like that last one. She stared at me. What does that mean? It means, I said, I'm no longer managing your social calendar like I'm your assistant. Her eyes flashed. So you're just going to let things fall apart? I smiled slightly. No, I'm going to let things fall evenly. That night, after the kids were asleep, she walked into the kitchen again. Same position, same posture, like she was trying to recreate the moment she'd announced her new rules, hoping she'd regain that same calm dominance. She leaned on the counter. We need to talk. I washed my hands, dried them slowly, and turned to face her. Okay, I said. Talk. She hesitated. You're different. I nodded. Yes. I don't like it, she said, as if that should settle the matter. I waited. She stared at me, searching my face. Aren't you going to ask why? I held her gaze. Why don't you like it? Because you're acting like you don't care, she said. You don't ask where I've been. You don't ask how my day was. You don't try. I tilted my head, thoughtful. Then I gave her the line that had been forming in my head all week, clean as a blade. I care proportionally. Her face tightened. That's not how love works. I nodded once. Then don't turn love into a labor contract. She opened her mouth, then closed it. And for the first time since Wednesday night, she looked like she wasn't sure she'd won. Not because I was yelling, not because I was punishing her, but because she'd expected me to adapt by becoming smaller. And instead, I was becoming precise. And we were only a week in. Week 2 is when confidence starts leaking. By day 10, she began asking questions she hadn't needed to ask before. Not logistical questions, emotional ones. I was in the living room helping my son with homework when she came home early. Earlier than usual. That alone was interesting. She stood there for a moment watching us. "You're good at that," she said. "At math?" "At this." I didn't look up. "I've always been good at this." She shifted her weight. "I meant you seem comfortable." "Because I am." And I was. Not euphoric, not reinvented, just steady. The house wasn't collapsing. The kids weren't traumatized. Dinner was happening. Bills were paid. The apocalypse she predicted never showed up. That bothered her more than failure would have. Later that night, she sat across from me at the kitchen table. "You haven't asked where I've been all week," she said. "Correct." "Why?" "Because you said your schedule isn't up for discussion." She stared at me. "You're not even curious?" I shrugged lightly. "Curiosity is proportional to involvement." Her jaw flexed. "You used to care." "I still do," I said calmly. "Just proportionally." There it was again. She hated that word. Proportional meant measurable. Measurable meant accountable. And accountability wasn't part of her redesign. Day 12 was the first crack. Her friend Melissa came over. Melissa is the kind of person who speaks in slightly exaggerated tones, like every sentence might become a podcast clip. They were sitting at the dining table while I was in the kitchen making dinner. Melissa laughed and said loudly, "So what's the new arrangement? I heard you finally outsourced the house." My wife smiled. That smile. The one that's meant to look playful but carries a quiet edge. "He's basically the home manager now." They both laughed. I didn't react immediately. I plated the food, walked into the dining area, set the plates down calmly. "Temporary restructuring," I said evenly. "Not permanent." Melissa's smile faded just slightly. My wife stiffened. "We're joking." "Of course," I said. "Pilot program, results pending." Silence. Melissa suddenly became very interested in her water glass. That was the first time my wife looked at me like she wasn't entirely sure how this was going to end. That night she brought it up. "You embarrassed me." I clarified. "You made it sound like this is some kind of trial." "It is." She crossed her arms. "You're being dramatic." "No," I said. "I'm being accurate." And then I shifted the conversation where she didn't want it. "By the way," I added casually, "I adjusted the bill distribution." Her eyes narrowed. "What does that mean?" "It means if I'm covering 70 to 80%, ownership adjusts accordingly." "Ownership of what?" "Everything." She laughed, but it wasn't amused. "You're not serious." "I consulted someone," I said, "just to understand options." Her face changed, not rage, fear. "You talked to a lawyer?" "I gathered information," I corrected. "You're threatening divorce now?" "I'm assessing structure," I said calmly. "You changed the structure first." She stared at me like I'd pulled a weapon out of thin air. "You're overreacting," she said. "No," I replied. "I stopped overcompensating." That line hit differently, because that's what this really was. For 7 years, I hadn't just been equal. I'd been cushioning, covering emotional gaps, picking up slack before it formed, absorbing tension so it never surfaced. Now I wasn't. Day 15. She tried something else. Softness. She came into the bedroom earlier than usual, sat next to me, hand on my arm. "You've changed," she said quietly. "No," I replied. I recalibrated. She exhaled slowly. "I didn't think you'd take this so literally. I don't do vague contracts. I just needed breathing room." And I agreed to 30 days. She hesitated. "And after that?" "We return to balance." "And if I don't want to?" There it was again. The assumption that preference overrides partnership. "Then I leave," I said. No anger, no raised voice, just clarity. She searched my face. "You wouldn't." "I would." That silence was different from the earlier ones. This one had weight. Day 18 was when it turned. She asked the question she'd been circling. We were in the kitchen again. Everything important in our marriage apparently happens between the fridge and the sink. "Are you planning to leave?" she asked. I wiped my hands on a towel slowly. "I'm planning to decide." Her throat moved when she swallowed. "You're not even fighting for us." I looked at her steadily. "I am fighting for balance. That's not romantic. Neither is exploitation." She flinched. "Good." Day 20, she tried intimacy again. Not dramatic, not desperate, just closer than usual. Softer tone, longer eye contact. Old reflexes stirred for half a second. But I didn't lunge. I didn't chase. I didn't perform gratitude. I stayed even. And even is terrifying when someone expects pursuit. "You're so distant," she whispered that night. "I'm aligned," I replied. "With what?" "My standards." By day 22, the house felt like a quiet chessboard. She was watching, calculating, trying to predict the move. I wasn't angry. I wasn't cold. I was consistent. And consistency removes the illusion that someone can wait you out. One evening, she sat across from me again. "You're making this bigger than it needed to be. I just wanted help." "You had help." She went quiet. Because that was the truth. She hadn't wanted help. She'd wanted relief from equality. And now she was discovering something unexpected. Equality, once withdrawn, doesn't return on demand. By day 25, she looked tired. Not from work, from uncertainty. "Are you still attracted to me?" she asked suddenly. "Yes." "Then why don't you act like it?" "Because attraction isn't obedience." Her eyes filled with frustration. "You're punishing me." "No," I said evenly. "I'm observing you." That unsettled her more than anger ever could. And the closer we got to day 30, the quieter she became. Because she finally understood something. This wasn't about chores. It wasn't about schedules. It wasn't even about money. It was about whether I would accept a permanent downgrade in respect. And for the first time since she said, "Accept it or leave," she wasn't sure which option I'd choose. Day 27 is when reality starts sweating. Not yelling, not collapsing, just sweating. She was moving differently in the house, slower, watching me when she thought I didn't notice, pausing in doorways like she was waiting for something, a signal maybe, a crack in my composure, a hint that this was all theater. It wasn't. That evening the kids were building something chaotic out of blocks in the living room. I was on the floor with them, helping engineer a structurally unsound castle that would absolutely violate building codes. She stood there for a while. "You're really leaning into this," she said. "Into what?" "The dad thing." I looked up at her. "I've always leaned into the dad thing." She folded her arms. "It feels intense." "It's responsibility," I said. "It looks intense when one person carries it." That landed. She didn't argue. She just turned and went upstairs. Later that night, after the kids were asleep, she came back down. She sat across from me at the table. "Day 30 is coming," she said. "Yes." "And you're actually going to do this audit?" "Yes." She exhaled slowly. "You're acting like this is a business merger." "I'm acting like this is a structure," I replied. "Because it is. This is a marriage." "Exactly." Silence stretched between us. Then she said something honest. "I didn't think you'd react like this." "How did you think I'd react?" She hesitated. "You'd complain, then adjust." There it was. Expectation of resistance, followed by compliance. "I adjusted," I said calmly. "You just don't like the direction." Her jaw tightened. "You're making me the villain." "I'm not," I said. "I'm making you accountable." Day 29 felt like the quiet before a storm neither of us wanted to admit was coming. She was softer with the kids, more present, helping with homework without being asked, loading the dishwasher without commentary, not because she suddenly rediscovered domestic joy, Because she felt the clock ticking. That night she tried one last emotional angle. We were in bed, lights off. Darkness makes people brave. "I feel like you stopped loving me," she said quietly. I stared at the ceiling. "I stopped compensating," I corrected. "That's cruel." "No," I said evenly. "Cruel would be pretending everything is fine while resentment grows." She rolled onto her side. "I just wanted to feel like I wasn't drowning." "And I didn't?" I asked. She didn't answer, because the truth was inconvenient. I had been drowning quietly for years, not in chores, but in expectation, in being the stabilizer, the smoother, the emotional shock absorber. Day 30 arrived on a Saturday. No drama, no raised voices. I made coffee. She sat at the table. I brought my laptop, not theatrically, just matter of fact. "You're serious," she said. "Yes." I turned the screen toward her. I'd tracked hours, expenses, division of labor, school involvement, household tasks, not obsessively, just clearly. "For 30 days, I said, I carried 82% of direct financial outflow, 100% of childcare logistics, 90% of domestic execution." She looked at the numbers like they were written in another language. She rubbed her forehead. "You're humiliating me." "I'm informing you." She sat back, frustrated. "You said this was temporary." "Yes. And I told you I like having more space. And I told you I won't live permanently in imbalance." She stared at me. "So what are you saying?" I closed the laptop slowly. "I'm saying we return to 50-50. And if I don't want to?" There it was. No rage, no tears, just preference. "I leave," I said. Her breath caught slightly. "Over this?" "Over disrespect." "This isn't disrespect," she insisted. "It is," I said calmly. "You removed mutual agreement and replaced it with unilateral terms. You're overreacting." "No," I said evenly. "I stopped overcompensating." She went quiet. Long quiet. Then she said the thing that ended it. "I like how it's been. I feel lighter." I nodded slowly. "I believe you." She looked confused. "That's it?" "Yes." "You're not going to fight?" "I already did." She shook her head. "You're choosing pride over your family." I stood up. "No," I said. "I'm choosing balance for my children." She looked at me like I'd just spoken a foreign language. "You're really going to leave?" I picked up my keys from the counter. Experiment complete. Her face shifted. Not anger this time. Fear. "You won't," she whispered. I paused at the hallway. "I would have stayed forever in partnership," I said. "I won't stay in hierarchy." The kids were upstairs, sleeping peacefully, unaware their parents had just completed a structural audit of their home. I packed lightly, not dramatically, not destructively, just efficiently. She followed me into the bedroom. "You're throwing away 7 years." "No," I said. "I'm refusing a downgrade." Tears gathered in her eyes. I didn't slam doors. I didn't shout. I didn't list grievances from 2018. I walked to the door calmly. She stood there, arms wrapped around herself. "If you walk out," she said, voice trembling slightly, "you're proving you never really loved me." I held her gaze. "If I stay," I replied, "I prove I don't love myself." That was the final move. I opened the door, stepped outside, closed it gently behind me, and for the first time in 30 days, I wasn't documenting. I was done. 3 months later, we signed the papers. No screaming, no dramatic courtroom monologues, no cinematic last look, just signatures. She tried to soften it at first. "Are we really doing this?" "Yes." "Over chores?" "Over respect." That word again. Respect. It never sounds dramatic, but it ends things quietly. The mediator explained custody, 50-50. Assets, divided cleanly. Mortgage, adjusted. Schedules, structured. Balanced. Ironically, the divorce looked exactly like the marriage was supposed to. Fair. After the paperwork, she lingered outside the building. I didn't think you'd actually go through with it, she said. I told you I would. I thought you were proving a point. I was. And I don't repeat experiments. That hurt her. I could see it. Not because she lost control, because she miscalculated. She thought I would fight emotionally, argue, beg, eventually adjust. What she didn't expect was consistency. I didn't mean for it to go this far. It didn't, I said calmly. It went exactly as far as you drew it. Silence. I just wanted space, she said, and I gave it to you. Not like this. That was the only version where I kept myself. She cried softly, not hysterically, not theatrically, just realization. I miss you, she whispered. I know. You don't miss me? I paused. I miss the partnership, I said, not the imbalance. The kids adapted. Kids care about presence, not marital ideology. When they're with me, I'm there, fully, not resentful, not exhausted from carrying invisible weight. And here's the part that surprises people. I'm not angry. Anger would mean I lost. I didn't. I left before resentment turned me into someone smaller. 6 months after the divorce, I ran into her at a school event. She looked lighter, but also more grounded. Responsibility does that when it's evenly applied. We spoke politely, no bitterness, no tension. Just two adults who once tried to run a life together and discovered they wanted different structures. I didn't leave because I stopped loving her. I left because love without respect turns into labor, and labor without consent turns into resentment. She wanted freedom from equality. She got freedom from me. Experiment complete. No repeats.